Well, hi there. Welcome to New Southern Garden. As you can see, we're putting in some new raised beds. And I want to try something a little different than just conventional raised bed gardening. I want to use the methods from Hugelkultur inside of these raised beds. So on today's video, we're going to talk about what Hugelkultur is and how you can use it even in your raised beds. So Hugelkultur, what is it exactly? Well, first of all, Hugelkultur is something that has a funny name. It's a German term that literally translates into mound cultivation or hillock cultivation. So just like this pile of leaves here, we're trying to create a mound that will be growing plants on top of. But it also consists of distinct layers. Down underneath the mound, the beginning layer, layer number one, is going to be a bunch of rotting wood. So limbs, branches, things like that. You start mounding those up as your first layer. Then you come in with organic matter, kind of the green stuff. If the timber and the wood is the brown stuff, we're putting on leaves, maybe turf grass or lawn, and putting that as the second layer. And then the third layer may include manures, something high, rich organic matter that's breaking down already. And then the last layer would actually be the planting substrate or your compost, compost mixed with soil. That would be your final layer. Now, some of these Hugelkultur mounds could be 3 foot tall or 6 foot tall. So you are increasing the surface area of any given space by planting on a mound. It's supposed to give you more food, more crops, more flowers, whatever you're growing. Some of the drawbacks, of course, are the fact that inside of the mound is organic matter, and that organic matter is going to break down. So over the next 5 or 6 years, your mound will start to settle down. You may have to start reconstructing that. So there are some benefits, but there may be some cons to Hugelkultur as well. But today I am going to be filling my raised beds in this Hugelkultur fashion, not really mounding, but kind of lasagna layering these beds with wood, leaves, and then our planting substrate on top. Now, the first step that I'm going to take in order to start this Hugelkultur raised bed is to actually dig out the center of the raised bed. But I am going to leave just a little strip of soil that's still intact to make sure we have a good footing, a good foundation for the raised bed itself. Once you have this shallow depression, maybe 8 or 9 inches deep, once it's dug out, we can start adding our wood products. Now, one of the main reasons why I wanted to do these beds like a Hugelkultur mound is because I've got plenty of wood. You see, I've had to trim trees and cut down trees, nothing too big. And what do you do with that? Do you burn it? Sure, you could burn it, but then you're releasing carbon and you're losing carbon you could be adding to the soil. And after burning, you just have a small pile of ash. But with this wood here in the bottom of our beds, it's going to slowly rot down, decay, and then of course be usable to feed the plant and nurture whatever crops we need to grow. All right, so this is the ultimate game of pickup sticks. And they're big ones too. When you're starting to lay your wood in your beds, be sure that you're putting the biggest ones on the bottom and working your way up to the top to where you can fit things and things aren't shifting and rolling. We're trying to fill as much of the air gaps as possible. And then of course, we'll put on small things right on the top of this first layer. All right. Whew. Well, it's a lot of work for a fat guy. But I do want to show you, since we've got our big stuff and our little stuff as far as twigs and branches go, I do want to show you this fungus on this branch. This is exactly what we're hoping for. We want for microbiology like fungus and bacteria to come into this wood, break it down, rot it down, so that then as it rots, it releases nutrients that our plants growing in the beds can use. So when you see white moldy stuff, don't throw it out, throw it in, because it's doing the job for you. So layer 2 of our Hugelkultur raised beds is to involve and add some kind of organic matter like leaves, grass trimmings, lawn if you're digging out when you're first digging your bed. If you have a lot of lawn you have to remove, save it to the side and put it in your second layer. This goodness right here is the green in the compost bin. And this right here helps to feed all of those microbiology life forms so that they can break down all the carbon in the wood. So now we're going to add on these leaves. So the next layer in our Hugelkultur mound is a really crappy layer because we're going to let Betsy and her friends over here provide us with some rich manure full of organic matter. Of course, there's litter where we have shavings and straw, and that layer is going to break down as well, release nutrients much faster perhaps than the wood layer and the leaf layer. But layer 3 is all about manure. If you have access to some kind of cow, chicken, goat, whatever kind of manure you can get, put it in your 3rd layer. Do you mind if we take some of your poop? No? You don't mind? I didn't think so. Well, it's a crappy job, but it's not going to make crappy vegetables. We're going to have great growing vegetables because of this manure. And of course, this is our 3rd layer, so it's going to break down and do some good stuff for us. So let's get it maybe 2-3 inches thick. We do want to leave enough room, of course, for our planting layer. And that will be our final and 4th layer. All right, and now we're ready for our 4th layer in our raised bed, our Hugelkultur raised bed, which is the planting layer. Now, what can plants grow in? Well, modern research shows that we can grow in high amounts of organic matter. And so this mix here is an OMRI certified organic compost mix, which has large particles, small particles of organic matter. There's pine bark, there's pine fines, a little bit of sand it looks like, but it should drain well. It should hold on to moisture. I know that sounds kind of catch-22, but we do want our soil planting mix to drain well and retain some water for the plants to use. We don't want them standing in water either. And the other thing is we want to make sure that it can hold on to nutrients or nutrition for the plants to use as well. Well, organic matter does a great job of that. But of course, you know, we dug out a lot of soil from underneath the raised beds. You could use that. You could use that with a mix of some kind of soil conditioner or organic matter that's ready for the plant to grow in. But take your pick, take your choice, whatever materials you have available to you, as long as we have those 3 characteristics: free draining, but water holding on to, and also nutrients can hold on to that material as well. If you have that in whatever mix you decide to use in your planting layer, you should have a great Hugelkultur garden. So gang, I'm just raking the top of our planting space, our planting soil, that final and 4th layer. Now, the thing about Hugelkultur is there's not really a lot of good science behind it. So I think that we'll do a couple of raised beds in this modified Hugelkultur manner, and then the other raised beds we'll do more traditional with maybe just the soil level and then our planting layer on top of that. But it's sort of an experiment. We'll see. We've got a nice mound on the top of this bed. I know it's going to settle down maybe by next spring when we're planting. But regardless, we'll compare what the Hugelkultur beds, how they perform versus the other beds. So thanks for joining me on New Southern Garden today. I hope that this video has helped you in some way. If it has, please like, subscribe, of course, leave a comment if you have questions or more ideas for the show. And of course, be sure to check out the New Southern Garden podcast on your favorite podcasting app. Well, for New Southern Garden, I'm Nathan Wilson, and I hope you stay well and grow well. We'll see you next time.